What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the Neer and Far podcast. It's just me and Chad today. No Ryan. Life beckons, as I'm sure it will for all of us. In other episodes, we're all just doing this as a hobby. So that's the way we're going to roll here. But there was too much that went on last night. We're recording this on Sunday. Last night, WVU lost to Oklahoma, got embarrassed on national TV, 59-20. So Chad and I wanted to get on here and talk about that, as well as, we'll get into a little bit of Jimbo getting fired. Jimbo Fisher has been fired from Texas A&M. They're going to pay him $75 million to not work. So probably talk about that a little bit, but lots to go over.
Yeah, lots to dissect here, man. We've got... Wow. I mean, just looking at the stats and stuff from the game last night, I mean, it was obviously what the tale was going to tell after seeing that, but 644 total yards.
For Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's just Oklahoma. That's not like total yards. That's just Oklahoma.
No, that's just Oklahoma.
So Oklahoma's a pretty storied program. And they were setting records last night. Dylan Gabriel has 8 touchdowns. That's the most by any Oklahoma quarterback ever in a single game. And keep in mind, I mean, there's a lot of Heisman Trophy Oklahoma quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking, you can think of a lot. That
was they probably had 3 in the last or within 10 years of each other, didn't they?
Yeah. I get, whenever I start thinking about last night, I think the way that I start thinking about it is, man, I was really excited going into that game. The cards were going our way. You had Oklahoma State losing at UCF. That's one of the dominoes that needed to fall. And in order for us to go to the Big 12 championship, you needed Oklahoma State to lose a game.
Kansas lost.
That was another team getting out of the way for us to make our way to the Big 12 championship. So, that was the Texas Tech Texas was in a close game going into the start of our game. You thought, okay, well, there's another team that maybe might be losing. And all of a sudden it's looking like, okay, if we beat Oklahoma, there's a really good chance that we could play in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
First drive, we go down the field and score. It looks beautiful. You're thinking, this is awesome. And from that moment on, the game was never in our hands. Okay, well, actually, I take that back. From they come down the score. It's now 7-7. We go 3 and out in the next possession. They score. They're up 14-7. We go 3 and out again. We punt. They fumble the punt. We get it back. And you're thinking, okay, here we go. We can tie it up. And from that moment on, the game was never in question.
Yeah, the first drive, man, I felt awesome about that. I thought, well, at the very least, maybe we're going to get in a shootout, and sometimes those aren't bad because it just, I don't know, because you hate to rely on the defense to make a stop when you're down 2 scores whenever there's not much time left in the game in situations where you're in a shootout. But yeah, it was crazy how it fell off after that first drive, because it seemed like we showed up and wanted to play with a little bit of swagger, and it went away. Garrett Green was like, we didn't have to worry about drop passes last night because he wasn't throwing the ball anywhere near our receivers.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Yeah, he had a rough game because I felt, coming into this game, like you said, I was excited all week. And then all that stuff that happened prior to our game, the Kansas losing, Oklahoma State losing, I thought, man, this maybe something's in our favor for once. And then I don't know, it's just it's a huge letdown to be that excited for a game again. And then the team that showed up last night, it was disappointing to say the least, and I hated that it was nationally televised.
And that's kind of the story of, I think you can take that big picture and kind of break it down and there's similarities between that big picture of here we are, here's our moment. We have an opportunity to go and grab and put us in the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship. We have an opportunity to play well and beat Oklahoma on national TV and show people West Virginia's back. And like you take that moment and we, in the words of Brian Hefner, shit down our leg.
Yes.
And then you break it into smaller moments within that game. And okay, here we are. They fumbled a punt. We get the ball back with good field position. 0 point. Neal Brown's play calling, he goes into a shell of his former self. I don't know what it is about when we have the moment to be a killer and really just step on people's throats or to just go out there and grab a hold of something on offense. His play calling, it feels like it sucks in those moments.
It does.
Yeah, and then another opportunity, okay? At the end of getting close to the first half, we complete a long pass play to Ray, which, by the way, I like Trey. I like him. I think he's got a bright future. I really like him.
Yep.
But we complete that. We get down within the 10-yard line, first and goal inside the 10, and he runs it up the middle 4 plays in a row. 4 plays in a row. And after the game, he talks about, he would have liked to seen that spot reviewed or whatever. Okay, whatever. But we had already, I think that he came into this game thinking that our offensive line was going to beat them, and it did not. Our offensive line did not beat Oklahoma. And I feel like we knew that before that possession. There was a 4th down that we failed on before that, right? Where it was a 4th and 1, and we tried running it up the middle in a jumbo set, and it just we weren't getting any push. And then he goes up there, first and goal, runs it up the middle, 4 plays in a row. After that, I feel like the game, we came back and scored before the half, and I guess it could have been interesting after that, but that to me was the end of the ball game right there. When they stopped us on the goal line, it was over.
Yeah, I was trying to find, let's see, how many times did they punt?
Oh, God.
Twice.
No. Twice.
No, wait.
I remember once in the first half they did.
Yeah, 3 times. 3 times they punted. Okay. That was more than what I thought it was going to be. I don't know. I felt like the receivers were open on, there were lots of times where it was there, but we talked earlier, the throws were not there for some reason. I mean, and they weren't even in the neighborhood. Yeah.
And I just feel like overall, Garrett Green's decision-making, run, pass, scramble, didn't seem to be real sharp. One that really jumps out to me in my head is he rolls out. It was in the first half, I believe. Rolls out to the left. Jaheim White is on a wheel route. It looks like.
Yeah, that's what
he's past the linebacker. Feels like if he completes that pass, he has a nice gain. For sure, a first down.
Right.
And it wasn't even close. The ball skipped.
No. Oh,
5 yards in front of him, I believe.
Yeah, it was like, are you sure you're right-handed?
Yeah,
one of those situations. I don't know.
And I think to sum it up, we went on national TV with a chance to really establish ourselves and do some really good things, and we didn't show up.
No.
We got just beat bad.
Yeah, our predictions were nowhere in the ballpark.
No. And so, I mean, I don't really, for me personally, I don't know about you, I don't really want to talk about the details of the game anymore, personally. That doesn't really interest me. We didn't show up. We got our asses beat. I think where my head's at right now is big picture. And it revolves around Neal Brown. We were in here last week and we were all kind of like, has Neal Brown done enough to save his job? And we were all kind of like, yeah, probably. We'll see how the rest of the 3 games go. I think he's got to win 2 out of 3 in order to keep his job. So I guess first thing I would throw at you, has that changed for you after seeing what we did against Oklahoma?
I think that it has, because that was our signature win. He can go 8-4 without beating Oklahoma. Still, to me, isn't impressive enough. I think that he had to get, a big win this year to show that he can, play with the big boys and on the big stage. And I don't think that it's enough, and I don't know. I hate to talk down because we had a bad game, but it's getting close to the point where we need to move on. I believe, because there's no need for an extension. I don't know, because we're not going to play anybody in the bowl game that's going to be of any significance. It's not like we're going to. I mean, not to where I think it's going to be a huge caliber win for him if we happen to win the bowl game. But
yeah, I look at it like this: to go to Oklahoma and play a night game there and lose badly is not, that in itself is not enough to make you lose your job, because that's a tough thing not to do. I mean, Oklahoma is a good team this year and almost every other year. Last year was a down year, but to go to Norman and lose embarrassingly, you'd like to be competitive, but to lose like that in itself is not enough to lose your job. But we've played what I would consider to be 3 quality teams this year. We've played 3 top 25 teams this year. We've played Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Penn State. Oklahoma State just got beat by UCF. They're probably going to drop out of top 25, but I would still consider them a quality team. Okay?
Yeah.
So in those 3 games, all right, Oklahoma, we lost 20-59. Oklahoma State, we lost 34-48. And Penn State, we lost 15-38. Oklahoma State is the only game out of those 3s that we were even competitive, where we were even in the game in the second quarter. I shouldn't say that. Penn State, it was up in the air at the half, but it feels like Oklahoma State was the only game where we were competitive, and then it just fell apart in the fourth quarter. I'm not going to tally up those scores, but that win-loss differential against the teams that on our schedule that were good this year is very lopsided. Very lopsided.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, and you look at, okay, this was clearly a year where Neal Brown had to prove himself. And I think I would, even after the Oklahoma game, I would say we have made progress this year. But here's the progress that we've made. I think this is the best thing you can say about Neal Brown, is that this year we have shown that we can beat the teams we're supposed to beat, except for Houston. We still didn't do that one. But in general, this year, we've only lost to one team that we were supposed to beat. So that's where we're at. And that's the case that Neal Brown has made this year. And to me, I think that when you look at our schedule, it's one thing to lose lopsided to Oklahoma or lose lopsided to one top 25 team. But if you're playing 3 top 25 teams a year, and 2 of those 3 teams are on the cusp of being out of the top 25, like Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma had lost 2 in a row leading into this game, then you would like to win one of those, or at least be competitive in 2 out of the 3. The fact that we haven't really, it's been very lopsided in all 3 of those games, is what really leads me to the direction of we haven't made the type of progress that our record may show. We may be 6-4 right now. We may finish 8-4. But if you look back at this season and say that we lost lopsided to every top 25 team that we played, is that the type of progress where you're saying, yes, let's give them another year?
Well, I mean, I think, like you were saying, we're beating the teams that we're supposed to beat now. But let me ask you this, is that year 2 or 3 mentality and not year 5? But like you said, we were in one of those 3 games. Penn State, they could have scored 16 points, and that was going to be, they were going to beat us. We just could not move the ball against them. We couldn't. Garrett Green had no time to throw. Oklahoma just, they walked all over. So we were really never in that one. But yeah, I mean, is that year 2 or 3 mentality? Whenever you're okay, we're doing all right. We're beating the teams we're supposed to beat, but we're still miles away from, I don't know. I feel like we go into Oklahoma thinking we have a shot because we're playing decent football. We go into Penn State, first game of the season. They don't look at that. They look at us like we're one of the, they were looking at our game like it was one of those
Preseason.
pay to play games.
You mean we got to go there next year? This isn't a 2-for-1, or how much we pay in WVU to come here?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we need to be. We should have already been past the teams that we were beating, the teams that we need to beat, and on to throwing a couple upsets in every season.
Like I said, I think you look Oklahoma State, Penn State. You got to win one of those, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like we should be at a place right now where we win one of those.
Right. But
and then you throw in a very bad loss to Houston, a bad team. By the way, your former coach is there, like that. It's just like, oh my God, get me out of this nightmare. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah,
I like Neal Brown, but I feel like I'm living inside of a WVU nightmare where if I have any expectations whatsoever, he's about to crush my dreams. And if I don't have any expectations, then that's just not fun. I'm a WVU fan. I want to have expectations. I want to be excited about our team. And every time I am, he gives me a reason not to be.
Well, that's why, like, you hear, whenever Michigan is going through coaching searches and stuff, they bring up the term Michigan man. Is he a Michigan man? Like, maybe we need to stick with that kind of mentality. Is he a WVU man? Because it helps to know the traditions, and we like to get back at people that used to be here, used to coach here, beat us really bad the year before. Pitt, we got to have somebody running this team that feels as passionately about those things as the fan base does. And he doesn't come across like that to me. Like, I don't know that he realizes the significance of, like, how important it is to beat Pitt. To us, that's our Michigan-Ohio State game. We could lose every game on our schedule, but we beat Pitt whenever we're playing Pitt. I know that we won't be satisfied, but I'm just using that as a comparison. Yeah. And I don't feel like that he's got the mentality to get our guys hyped up for it. Like, I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he just does it behind closed doors. I don't know what goes on in the locker room, but when he's in his press conferences and stuff, he just, oh my gosh, it's like.
Well, okay. So I think that Neal Brown is a good cultural fit, being from Kentucky. I think that in that aspect, he is a good he's a better cultural fit here than what Dana was, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But and as a counterpoint to what you just said, you look at our rivalry games, Virginia Tech and Pitt. He's 3-1 in those games.
Well, yeah.
So that kind of plays into his corner there. But I understand what you're saying in that, like, did he feel any type of chip on his shoulder going in to play against Dana? Probably not. He
has no connection there. He doesn't. It's not. I don't know. He doesn't. He doesn't have those same harboring feelings that we have, as fans, of lifelong fans. So it makes you wonder, like, how he's approaching these games. Because, like you said, you going into Houston, this guy, like, left us for a non-Power 5 school. Like, let's go in there and make him realize, this is what we do at Power 5. But
yeah,
I mean, they are now, but at the time they weren't. But
you don't want to go in there and prove them right. You don't want to go in there and give Dana justification for that decision or whatever. But I mean, and that's like, I think overall, like I feel bad because it feels like every game, if we won this season, I was back on the climb. And if we lost, I was wanting him removed. You know what I mean? And I can look at that and I can fully recognize that I am flip-flopping with each win and loss. But I can also look at the schedule and be like, that's justified. Right. If you look at the way that we've won and lost these games, it's somewhat justified. BYU, a team with a winning record, came into Morgantown and we beat them soundly. It's not crazy to feel good after that happened.
Right.
go to Oklahoma, national TV, chance to play for the Big 12 championship, drop an egg, and it's normal to feel bad after that.
Right.
And I think more than anything, I'm just tired of this. The leading talking point around WVU football for the last 3 years has been, is Neal Brown going to keep his job? And I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, how long can he be on the hot seat?
Exactly. And it's not going to go anywhere. Let's say we go 8-4, and then next season he's back. He didn't do good enough this year for that to change, and for him to go and play Penn State, lose that game, and not have that question come up again. Can you I can't stomach the idea of going through this for another year. Maybe that's the strongest case for why I think we should maybe go into a different direction. I just, as a fan, I can't imagine going through this again next year, man.
Yeah, it's, we come into the season thinking, obviously the media didn't give us any very high expectations. They picked us to finish last in the Big 12. And as fans, we're thinking, okay, we're going to go into this season, we're going to win. I mean, at that point in time, being realistic, we were picking 2 or 3 wins we saw on our schedule, before anybody ever played. And as a fan, you're thinking, okay, let's just get through this season, get rid of Neal Brown. Let's start over. I'm ready to clear my head. Like you said, I'm just tired of talking about the same what if, or is he going to keep his job? It's getting exhausting to this point. And then the worst possible case happens for us. We get bowl eligible. We're going to possibly go 8-4, but we're looking at another season of what's he got to do this year to keep his job? For next season, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at the 4th year in a row. We're going to be talking about the same situations.
Yes, and that to me is just awful because okay, I mentioned that BYU game. It was a home game at night against BYU, newcomer to the Big 12 conference. We won that game soundly. There were 50,000 fans there. 50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
A night game in Morgantown.
Yes.
50,000.
How many people are going to be buying season tickets Yeah. And here's another thing I would say in the case against Neal Brown. There is a lot of young players that we're finally seeing potential from on the team. I will give him that. But show me, this is the 3rd year that we've seen Garrett Green on the field. Show me where he has improved.
Well, I mean, just when you think he's about to get over that hump and be like, okay, this guy is staying consistent. He's over the last, 3 games, he's led, been up in the leader, one of the leaders of the Big 12 in offensive production. And then you have a game, and I understand he's a human being and people are going to have off nights. But, I mean, as a coach, do you just keep rolling the dice and hoping he's going to all of a sudden snap out of it in the 3rd quarter and lead us to victory like Pat White did against Louisville, and when we were down 20-something at the half in that game? But I mean, that statistically, that's not going to happen. You've got to be, I think, aware as a head coach to be listen, he doesn't have it tonight. But I believe he gives us our best chance to win. And I'm not saying that Nico should have been put in the game because he's obviously not comfortable enough yet. I mean, I don't know if it was just the situation he was put in. They put him in garbage time just to get some reps. So is he going to come in and try to bring us back? No, he's you can't put that on his shoulders when we're down.
Right.
He's 30 some points, but you got to start thinking in this early on in the game that things, that your quarterback's off tonight. And not just a little bit.
He looked bad.
He looked bad. He did.
But I guess my argument, and I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with that. for the most part. But my argument would be again against Neal Brown is should Garrett Green be more advanced in his progression as a quarterback now?
Yeah.
In 4 years under Neal Brown than what he is. Should he be able to have a little bit more touch on those balls over the middle and to the running backs?
So, are you relating his progression with coaching? Like he's not,
I am.
Like,
I am. I think that is. I think player development it falls on the coach. I think player development falls on the coach.
And I feel
Neal Brown's recruited well since here. You look at our recruiting classes, and for the most part, Neal Brown has recruited well for West Virginia in the time that he's been here. Transfers have been a problem. I don't really blame Neal Brown too much for that. It's the world we live in these days. But when you look at guys on the roster who have been here for 2, 3, 4 years under Neal Brown, and they aren't contributing on the field, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Garrett Green hasn't contributed. That's not at all what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but
we don't win games without him this year.
Sure.
Totally. I mean, you're like you said, 2, 3, 4 years they've been here and they're not contributing. Like they may have came out of high school, when we hit the recruiting trail as, this guy right here, he's what we're looking for. Well, after you get him to campus and let them sit for a year. Of course, they're young, and then year 2, they should be getting significant playing time and contributing to whatever position they're put in. And we don't get that. We haven't been getting that. And Garrett Green gets the ball every play, and he's, that's a lot of reps. You know what I mean? Like not everybody on the field is touching the ball every play.
Yeah.
He touches the ball every single play, and I don't know. I mean, you look back to when like Pat White first started playing, getting significant playing time, which was after the Louisville game. He was a sophomore?
No, he was a freshman. He would have been a redshirt freshman.
Oh, yeah. You're right. He was a freshman. So year 2, I mean, he was a stud.
Yeah, I mean, he had his passing issues. I'm not gonna. He wasn't Mark Bulger back there.
But our offense wasn't designed around the pass.
No.
So he did the things he was supposed to do. What he was expected of.
His decision making was probably a little better on the zone read. Obviously.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I actually watched that Louisville game not too long ago, and he had better touch on the ball than what I remembered at that point.
Yeah, but
he made some big throws.
Yeah, he probably threw it 10 or 12 times a game. And like
which isn't bad for if you're Navy. Those are big numbers.
But I mean, other games he threw it more, obviously. But most of the time we just ran the ball and got the job done. But it sucks that I'm trying to compare Garrett Green to Pat White, which is arguably one of the greatest Mountaineers of all time.
Right.
So, but I do think that he needs to be a little bit further along than what he is at this point.
I would agree with that. And I think that's again, I think I put that more on Neal Brown than Garrett Green in the sense of like here. I mean, this is crazy to think about compared to where we were 2 weeks ago. But like, okay, let's say that like next 2 games go and Garrett plays okay. Do you go in the portal for a quarterback? Have you seen enough this season to lead you to believe that Garrett Green is going to go into his senior year giving you a chance to beat Penn State, to beat Oklahoma State?
Well,
because basically what you'd be saying there is that I expect Garrett Green to take a step forward between his junior and senior year. Show me the step forward between his freshman and junior year that would lead you to believe that.
Yeah, it's
Does JT Daniels have any more eligibility?
Can he play for a record 8th school? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's the answer or not, because
I don't think you can.
I don't either.
I don't think you can go in the portal for a quarterback because you're also looking at Nico at that point and being like, you're
Right.
not our guy either. So,
Right. Yeah.
I think at most you could say we're going to have a competition. The quarterback competition is up in the air this offseason. We don't, and we don't, and both will have a chance to earn the job.
But does being able to recruit good players or have a good recruiting class, if you can bring in, high talent, but can't develop them, what's the point?
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
Because they talked about Nico. This dude is he was highly rated high school quarterback, and we get him. And if that same player is recruited to an SEC school or Big Ten school, is he their starting quarterback? Is he pushed along to where he is capable of leading a Florida or I'm not going to say Alabama or Georgia because I don't think that he was that level. But I mean, I'm just saying, from a coaching standpoint, it's these guys get these guys ready. And
well, I mean, to play devil's advocate there, he's what, a redshirt freshman this year? He's a freshman, right? So it's not crazy to think that at any other school he might not see the field much until his sophomore, junior year.
Right.
I think that's the way it works a lot at Alabama is, when the guy, you got to this quarterback in his senior year wins a national championship in the Heisman, and then next year you've got a junior coming in who's going to do the same thing. They've got it rolling there, and we're not Alabama. Let's stop the comparisons there. But I think maybe like to play onto your point there, the question I would have is at other schools when they bring in a highly touted recruit, where would they, after 2 years on campus, where is their progression at compared to Nico's? I don't think we can fairly answer that question. To be fair to Nico, he's been called upon 3 times and has won all 3 games.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, crazy numbers that he put up there. He wasn't asked to do a lot, but I don't know that we can answer that. But I think that does play into the player progression and player development point. Is if this guy was a big recruit, if he's been on campus for 2 years, why isn't he in a place right now to compete for the starting job? Maybe is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, what's he being told? Is he being told, just sit back and learn? I want you to memorize the offense and just blah blah blah. Or are they like saying, are they getting after him to where he is pushing himself? Are they coaching him to where he's pushing himself to where Garrett Green needs to start looking over his shoulder? And I don't think that they are. I feel like he is a backup quarterback, and he is just the backup quarterback. There's no he's not going to come in if Nico gets hurt in the first quarter against Oklahoma and comes in and throws 5 touchdowns, 400 yards. He's not going to do that. Like I don't think. I'm not saying he's not capable of doing that, but I don't look for him to do that. Like he comes, if that were the situation and he comes in, it's just like, I
think at some point you have to look and say during Neal Brown's tenure here, we've never had great, consistent quarterback play. We're in year 5. So at some point, like 10 years go by and you look back and you say, we've never had great quarterback play during those 10 years. You can name a lot of recruits during that time and maybe point a finger at them. But at some point, you got to look at the coach and be like, something's going on with your scheme here, with your development, or something that doesn't allow you to get the most out of these quarterbacks, clearly. And I don't know. But, and it's not just the quarterback position. Like, I don't even think the quarterback position is by any means our weakest position on our team. The defense is another aspect of that, too. Like, how did we get this thin on defense? I know there's been injuries, but we're a Big 12 football program. You're in your 5th year. Supposedly, you've been a good recruiter. Why is the cupboard so empty on defense? And it feels like once we're past our starters and once we're in there with our backups, that they really aren't capable of competing with the players in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Whenever Tony Gibson was our defensive coordinator, he had players ready. He had them ready. People may sit back and say they didn't like the 3-3-5 scheme, but if you watch now, a lot of college football is some modification of that defense now. But he had his players ready. They were hungry. And even whenever we had to go to the bench, I feel like those guys were hungry. They may not have been, experienced, but they were hungry. And that had 100% to do with coaching. He turned a lot of defensive backs into NFL players. And I don't think that our defense has that fire. Like there's a few on the field. Our linebackers seem to do decently, but we don't. I don't know. I think it's all coaching. We've got the talent because you see it. You see flashes of it so often that you're just like, that's why you leave yourself to question what the hell happened right there? Why this game are we shitting down our leg, but the game before we were flying all over the field. What is the mentality? Why does the mentality seem like it changes week to week so drastically? It's drastic.
And good teams will make you do that. Oklahoma's a good team.
Yeah, Oklahoma's a good team.
But again, I'm pretty sure Stoops had a career night last night. So it's one thing for a good team to make you look bad. It's another thing for you to walk away from said good team and be like, every single offensive player had a career night. Okay, something clear. That's more than just playing a good team. That's a good team playing a bad team is what that looks like to me. And I do feel like the defense on this year has gotten a little bit of a bad rap in the sense that, to me, I think the fan base and as a general fan, when a 3-and-out and a punt with 3 runs up the middle, 3 bad play calls or 3 bad decisions by the quarterback doesn't stick with you as much as a pass, a missed tackle, and a long touchdown. That sticks out to you more. You're like, oh, the defense lost us this game. Well, what about whenever they muffed the punt and we went 3-and-out and got 0 points out of it on the 30-yard line?
Yeah.
You're telling me that our offense, and I felt like this against Oklahoma State as well in the second half. Our offense, when the time comes for our offense to apply pressure to the other team and make them have to produce whenever they come back on the field and get the ball, they fold like a lawn chair in every single one of those positions. And that has been why I'm not as hard on the defense as maybe some other people might be. Last night was embarrassing, 59 points. Clear, like the defense did not play good last night, but the offense did not help them out.
No, the offense didn't help them out, but I was looking there a little bit ago. The time of possession, take a guess on what the time of possession was.
I think we probably did pretty good.
It was
on time of possession.
Within 30 seconds of Oklahoma's. Because, watching the game, I thought, man, it's tough for us to do anything when our defense is on the field all the time. But they weren't because they were scoring fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's why it seemed, I think that's why it was as close as it was, because we were going 3-and-out, but they were scoring. We had the ball for a minute and a half and 3 possessions and kick it to them, but they had the ball for a minute and a half, but they were scoring.
Yeah, a little different. But time of possession, that's where time of possession doesn't mean much. When you look at I'll take no time of possession, but all scoring drives all day, every day.
Right. Yeah, it's a little different like that. But Stoops, he did have, I think, career high yardage. I'm not sure about receptions, but he's their leading receiver. Like
Okay.
I saw a stat pop up last night that he's the first Oklahoma player to have 60 receptions in a season since CD Lamb.
Okay.
So I mean, he's not like it wasn't like he wasn't on our radar.
Right. Gotcha.
But yeah, that one stung last night because I was just excited,
Yeah.
to play on the big stage, have a game that could, potentially catapult us into the Big 12 title game because of what happened earlier in the day. And then, wow. And it was just like, it's just disappointing. And, and I don't know. I'm tired of being disappointed.
I'm tired of just not being, I'm tired of like being destroyed every time I have an ounce of excitement.
Yeah.
Like,
if we lose that game in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter because they scored, or we just didn't get it, get it done, I feel differently this morning.
Right. At least be competitive.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, that like I watched Neal Brown's press conference, and his first sentence was, I'm really disappointed in the way we played tonight. If you look at the last two games, if you look at our last three games with them, or the previous two games against Oklahoma, the total score is a tie. And to me, that was like, dude, don't sugarcoat it. Like,
right.
Don't come out here and talk about how close you played in the last two games. You just got beat 59-20, bro.
Right.
Like, don't sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form. Like, that's how I took it. I took it as him coming out and being like, hey, we normally play these guys close. I know we got beat tonight, but normally we play these guys close. Dude, you got beat 59-20. It wasn't competitive after the first quarter. Let's not talk about previous games.
That to me sounds like somebody that's like trying to make excuses to keep his job.
Yeah. And you wonder if that's the mentality. Again, we're pure speculation here. We're two dudes talking about this on the internet. But like, how is he talking to the players? Is he going into the locker room and being like, hey guys, really disappointed in how we played tonight? But good job playing them last year. We beat them last year. For those of you who were here last year, good job. Like what? Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of I guess if you're like, people talk about Neal Brown, does he have it? Does he have the it factor to be like, to take us to the level that we want to be in college football? And I think maybe that's what I would point out right there is, I think that you look at a lot of those coaches that are able to take teams that don't have all the advantages in the world, like West Virginia. We're never going to have the best recruits. We're never going to have the most money. We're never going to have the best facilities. We're not Alabama. We're not Michigan. We're not Ohio State.
The Boise States of the world.
Right. If you get the right coach in those situations, they'll overachieve. And you'll get them in these situations where they'll take one of those teams and they will punch above their weight. But usually that requires a coach that's got the it factor.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that Neal does. Now, the counterpoint to that would be, clearly he did at Troy. There's a difference between being the underdog and being the guy who goes into LSU and doesn't have anything to lose.
Right.
Like if you go there and you lose 50-0, they're going to be like, well, it was Troy playing LSU. That's a different feeling than going into Oklahoma as the West Virginia coach and having the ability to go in there and get a win and play for the Big 12 title.
Right.
That's pressure.
Yeah.
And it just feels like every time he's had that pressure, we lose.
Is his coaching mentality still stuck at Troy level? Like, is what you're saying. Like, are we, we gave it a shot.
I hope not, man. I mean, it seems like it. So let me ask you this. Next two games, does anything change? Are you saying we could go in, we can win our next two games 40-0 both games, and you're saying that if you're Ren Baker, you let him go?
I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking hard about it because, like I said, I think we've talked about last week, the Big 12 is down. We played all the newcomers this year, right? So we lost to Houston.
Yeah.
So if let's see. I mean, I feel like, I'm not asking him to go 12-0. I'm asking him to beat the teams we're supposed to beat and then throw in at least one upset. A game that, we're not supposed to win because it's on the road against a ranked team, blah, 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 blah. I mean, at this juncture of where we're at right now, in the future, I hope that we improve and are good enough to where we're going to be that ranked team that people are headhunting. But right now, I feel like he needs to have, we had 3 games on our schedule where if he gets one of those wins, I think we're headed the right direction. And we didn't get any of them.
And here's another thing I just thought of. Okay, so 3 of our Big 12 wins. Let's say, okay, so BYU, UCF. Who else have we beat in the Big 12? TCU. That's normal. Okay, let's do this. Let's replace on our schedule this year. Let's replace BYU with Texas. Let's replace UCF with Kansas State, and then we will replace. Just do that. Let's just start there.
Yeah, just with those two.
Just with those two, you take those 2 wins, and those are 2 losses. There's nothing you can show me that says that we win those games.
I was going to say if you add those 2, take away those 2 wins, we're looking for a new coach.
Yes, we are 100%. He's gone.
Yeah.
So we're in a position right now. We've both mentioned we're not Alabama, we're not Michigan. What we expect from our program and from our coach is that every 4 years, we're going to compete for the Big 12 championship. Yeah. Every 4 years, when the schedule aligns to give you kind of a few layups there, that you can make a run, crack that top 25, and be in the national discussion, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was that year. And he hasn't done it.
You're right. Some years you're given the opportunity to, the schedule's take advantage of it.
Yes.
It's every year you have a team that's in the top 5, and there's always people saying, well, they didn't play anybody. But at the same time, they're not losing.
Yep.
It's not their fault that, hey, we're getting the job done, but we may not be playing top caliber teams, but, they should have been better. You know what I mean? So if we're going to go into the Big 12 with no Texas, no Oklahoma, there's no excuses anymore. I think that you're looking at 1, 2, 3, probably 5 teams that should be in discussion for, winning the Big 12 next year.
Yeah.
And I don't see why we shouldn't be one of those.
And I'm not saying that should play into the decision to keep him or not, but it plays into my mind. It's like next year feels like a new era in the Big 12.
Yeah.
It feels like a really nice time for us to bring in a new coach and kind of enter a new era ourselves.
Yeah.
Because right now, we talked about this in the last episode. Who's going to be the new flag bearer for the Big 12? I mentioned Oklahoma State. You said Kansas State. Utah is coming in.
Yes.
That's who's going to be the new flag bearer.
Yes, and we forgot about Utah.
Yeah, and if we're going to has Neal Brown showed us anything in 5 years that says that we're going to be in that discussion? Not yet. So I guess
But who do we go after? If
we should do an episode on that. Like I'm okay to talk about it, but we should do an episode on that later in the week. It should just be who do we target? Okay, Neal Brown's gone. Who do we target?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously everybody's going to talk about Jimbo. We might as well talk about that right now. So Texas A&M is going to pay Jimbo Fisher $76 million. I think that's before his assistant's buyouts as well. His assistant coaches have buyouts, so that's before the assistant buyouts. They're paying him $76 million and moving in a different direction, which is just insane to me.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Jimbo is a West Virginia guy, grew up in West Virginia. A lot of people are saying let's get rid of Neal and bring in Jimbo. What do you think about that?
I do not want any part of that.
Okay, why?
Well, because I feel like Jimbo Fisher, first of all, I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He obviously recruits well, but a lot of that has to do with where he's at, the money that he's, that he has available from boosters and donors. At Texas A&M, the money is just endless. But when he was at Florida State, he won the national championship, and then we like to sit here and say, you can't win a football game with one player, but Jameis Winston was on another level in college football.
He really was.
He was, he caught lightning in a bottle. The pieces fell in place for them with that, with him. So he hasn't really shown anything outside of that he is, capable of leading a school like Texas A&M, and obviously, they feel the same way. But I don't. Even from our perspective, we're not Texas A&M. I don't want him coming in either, just because he hasn't really shown me that he can do the job anywhere unless he's got a superstar, and he's not developing the players down there that he's getting 5-star recruits. He's got top 5 recruiting class every season. What is going on? Why are you still not competing in the SEC?
I think I read that Jameis Winston went 26-1 as a starter, with the only loss in the college football playoff. I think, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read as part of the Jimbo Fisher news cycle that I've been catching up on here. But I agree with you, Jimbo. I think I'll say this. I think there are worse coaching candidates. I think that if he's interested in the job, it has to be a conversation that you think about. But I don't think we should go that direction either, because the big thing for me is motivation. I think we need a coach that is hungry. Jimbo Fisher they're going to pay him. The way that contract was structured is they pay 20% of that buyout within, I think, 30 days of firing him. And then they pay him $7 million per year over the next 8 years. So do we want a head coach here who's making, $7 million a year and then on top of that, whatever we're paying him? How hungry is that coach? What's his motivation? He's already won a national championship. He's already proven that he can win at the highest level. So what's going to be his motivation here? Jimbo, retire, dude. Take your money, fish every single day. Don't deal with college regents. Don't deal with college presidents. Don't deal with fans. Don't deal with recruiting. Don't deal with parents. Don't deal with these kids. Enjoy the rest of your life, dude. Take your paycheck and go. But that's what I would say. Even like people talk about bringing Rich Rod back. I could see motivation there. Rich Rod doesn't have to worry about money, sure, but he might be motivated to win, to come back and prove that he can win again at this level. Right. He's been humbled. He's been humbled from Michigan down to Jack. He was an offensive coordinator. Then he got the job at Jack State. So he might prove that his motivation might be, I can come back. And maybe Jimbo would have that same motivation as well. I don't know. But I would be much more inclined. Like, if we're talking about candidates, and again, I would love to do an episode on just this, but my top candidate right now would be JMU's head coach, Cignetti. Played quarterback here. There are ties to West Virginia. He is turned JMU into a powerhouse. That would be my top candidate, personally. Outside of that, I know you're going to mention it if I don't. You got to look at Tony Gibson. Tony Gibson has to be a candidate as well. Obviously, West Virginia ties here, being a defensive back coach, has done an amazing job at NC State with as a defensive coordinator there. He was a defensive coordinator here as well. Those are kind of the two names that I would mention. I think as Rim Baker, though, go ahead. What do you think on that?
Well, I mean, it just goes back to, you have to be, and like you said, Jimbo Fisher is from West Virginia, but I don't know, is he a West Virginia guy? Like
Yeah,
he's been gone. He's been gone so long. Does he have that same hunger as, you know, a West Virginia native has, you know, to win for the state of West Virginia? Like, you know, Bob Huggins said it all the time. We do this for the people, West Virginia. I feel like Jimbo Fisher is more of a, I'm just doing this for me, you know, but I don't know that, I'm just speculating that, but, I think we need to go the route of a West Virginia guy. And, I'm, at this point, if Rich Rodriguez were to re-enter the conversation, I'm all for it. I was always a Rich Rod fan. When he left, I didn't really have. I was crushed when he left, but it was on the level of like, I see your point. I see why you left. Because we've talked before about the background of like why he left and stuff, and he's even touched on it in the last couple of years on Tony Caridi's show about what really happened there. And it seems like the people that are just 100% against it they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know. They just want to believe what they believe and be like, he did this and he blah, 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 blah. And it's sickening, like on one level, I would like to be like Rich. If Rich were given another opportunity, I would welcome it. If Tony were given an opportunity, I would welcome it. And I think that those two guys right there, like you said, Rich has been humbled. I think that he would want to come back and prove to the state of, the people of West Virginia that he wants to be successful. And
to play into his ego, imagine the motivation for him being like, let me show these people that they can't win without me.
Right.
That I'm the key here. And that's a selfish motivation, but I will take it if that's going to cause him to come here and do a hell of a job.
Yeah.
And work his ass off.
Right. And I think that Tony's hungry. He's awesome recruiter. He's the relationships that he establishes with his players is like, it's on another level. I feel like I don't know for sure, like I said, but I feel like we could see that from just being from a fan's perspective that the kids loved him. And looking at it now, I don't see it like as obviously from a fan's perspective with our current coaching staff. But I'll tell you this, I want this buyout. Like I want to touch on this because I feel like the buyout that Jimbo Fisher has was so crazy. I hope that it changes the way that college football contracts are laid out now, because these schools were just throwing out, buyout money, blah, 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 blah. Just come here, whatever. We'll give you a $20 million buyout. We'll give you a $50 million buyout, blah, blah, blah. And now that they're having to pay this money out, it may make other universities less likely to just be so trigger happy on saying, yeah, we'll give you that. No, you come in, you win first, and then we'll talk about it.
It's crazy. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it almost feels criminal to me that a contract like that exists. So you're telling me that he can come here, and if he wins, you're going to restructure my contract and give me more money. But if I lose and you want to get rid of me, you're still going to have to give me $70 million. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not like, to be fair, the other side of the coin is like, well, I'm not losing. Like Jimbo Fisher could be like, I have a winning record.
Right.
So you want to fire me, go ahead. But the reason I have this contract is because you all make decisions like this. Like winning isn't enough for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to put these crazy expectations on me. I'm going to secure my future by, making you have a really lopsided contract. But no, I fully agree. These are public institutions. I don't know if is Texas A&M a public institution. Like West Virginia is in financial trouble right now. Right. And if Ren Baker decides to fire Neal Brown, he's going to pay him $12.3 million, something like that.
And how will that go over with the people of West Virginia that don't care about football? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have. That's a tough situation to be in.
It's really tough. It's really tough. Yeah.
But I mean, how about this? Like, yeah, we give these coaches incentives for winning. You know, like you win the conference championship, you get $500,000 bonus. You win a playoff game, you get another $500,000 bonus. You win the national championship, you get $1 million bonus. What about a little incentive for not doing that? How about if we give you an extension with buyout money in it? You go 6-6 or worse, we're taking X amount of dollars off of that buyout. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
go to Oklahoma and you lose 59-20,
yes.
Your buyout gets reduced by $6 million.
Yeah, you're going to owe us money.
And you're taking the bus home. So you got to drive yourself. You got to go to Enterprise and rent a car and drive home yourself. Yeah. I don't know, man. These contracts are insane. I've been reading up on the potential replacements for Jimbo, which has been fascinating to read. Well, anything that comes to mind for you? Like just throw some names out there. Who do you like? Because to me, them firing Jimbo and paying this buyout, I feel like they've already been talking about this. They have the next coach lined up, personally.
Well, I did see that the what's his name, Dan Lanning from Oregon.
Yeah,
kind of in the mix, but why? I don't understand.
Think he leaves Oregon.
No, I don't understand why anybody would want to leave Oregon.
They're going to the Big Ten next year. Like, yeah. Or he's fine where he's at. He's got SEC ties, but it's not Texas A&M.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the Pac-12 doesn't dissolve, maybe.
Well, they are for sure going to the Big Ten, right?
Yes, yeah, they're going. But I'm just saying. But if it weren't dissolving, like say hypothetically that none of the landscape has changed. You still got USC and UCLA. Then I think that he may think of going to the SEC. But I don't know. Like, I've never been a head coach, obviously, but I feel like Oregon would be one of the most premier places to be as a head coach. I mean, look what you've got back, and you've got Nike, you've got the brand.
They're the only thing in the state, right? Seattle is Washington. Like, there's not an NFL team in Oregon, right?
No. Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those situations too. Like,
yeah, like we're the college football's their thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know who you go after. So it'll probably be one of Kirby Smart's assistants, I'm sure.
Well, what I've seen in this, whenever I read both of these names, it was like, aha, yeah, that makes sense. I think the first name that was mentioned was the Duke head coach. Apparently, he was a Texas A&M defensive coordinator or something. He's got Texas A&M ties. Okay, that makes sense. But Urban Meyer is available.
Yeah,
if I was them,
interesting. That's interesting.
Urban Meyer has never had a losing season. Has won a national championship at 2 different schools, and has SEC experience. That would be the top candidate in my mind. Yes, clearly some baggage there. Urban Meyer is a pretty disgusting human being. But if you're paying $75 million to get rid of a coach with a winning record in their 6th year, you're probably okay with hiring a disgusting human being,
right?
It would not surprise me if Urban Meyer is the next coach at Texas A&M.
I heard his name rumored with Michigan State too. I don't know how much truth was behind that.
I think he has Michigan State ties, doesn't he?
I feel like he does,
but I don't know. I think that seems a little bit less likely to me than Texas A&M, personally. Yeah. So anyway, that'll be interesting to see what goes down there. But end of the day, I don't think that West Virginia is the right job for Jimbo Fisher. I hope the dude just retires and lives the rest of his life knowing that he won a national championship and that he and his kids and his kids don't ever have to work. And he just lives happily ever after.
So I agree with you there. How old is he? He's
I think he's in his 60s.
Late 60s, probably. Yeah. I mean, but these coaches nowadays, that's all they know. That's all they want to do. So, it's not unheard of for them to go well into their 70s coaching. If they're
the ego, man, the ego has to be insane. I think another factor there too that I didn't think of until today actually is like they've got a support system underneath of them that they try to take care of, like assistants.
Yeah.
So if whenever Jimbo gets fired at Texas A&M, it's not just Jimbo, it's all of his assistants are losing a job as well, and maybe they'll find somewhere else to work, or maybe they won't. So Jimbo can say like, I can go take the job at West Virginia right now. All of my support system comes with me and is employed, and we just carry on. Or if I retire, they're going to have to fend for themselves.
That's true. That's you're looking at it from as a humanity perspective. You've got a family outside of your family to take care of. But you got to. I know it's been years removed from Eddie passed along, but that was one of Rich's big gripes, was he wanted money for his assistants that they did not want to come off of. Is that changed now at WVU? The NIL, I feel like Rich Rodriguez would thrive in this landscape now. Like, I think he would be good at using that to his advantage. It's a money thing. We obviously aren't going to have the same amount of money that other bigger schools have, but I feel like he could use it to the best to his advantage as possible. And
I think that they would raise more money too. Like if Rich Rod or any let's say any coach that the fan base if was excited about was next year, ticket sales would go up. That BYU game, if Rich Rodriguez is, what were we at that time? 5-3?
Yeah.
If Rich Rodriguez comes in next year and we're 5-3 going into week 9 with a home night game, there's going to be more than 50,000 people there.
Yeah.
I promise you that.
Right.
Promise you that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another aspect of the NIL is, regardless of how smart Rich Rodriguez or whoever is at navigating that, the NIL hit West Virginia at the worst time possible. We haven't been this irrelevant in college football for 20 years.
Right.
Or like a little under 20 years. Right around 20 years, basically. So we're at a low point, and combined with that low point is fan interest. And then NIL is made up of a lot of, how much is the fan base willing to spend, basically, is what your NIL pool comes from.
Yeah.
And we're at a point where fans can't even be bothered to go to games, let alone donate $20, $50, $100, $500 to.
So, yeah, I mean, that just reminded me. Do you remember when the rumor was Rich Rodriguez to Alabama?
Yes.
Do you remember how glued to the media we were that night, and all the rumors and speculation? There were boosters coming out of the woodwork, like, we've got to get this guy paid. Like, they were doing everything and anything. It was just like, here's a blank check, just take it. You know what I mean? Like, we were doing what we could to keep him. And if that happens today, if somebody like comes knocking, do you think that, the millionaires and billionaires of West Virginia alumni are going to be like, go ahead?
Clearly not. I mean, with Dana, that was the issue with Dana, right? Dana didn't choose to go to UH. Like, I want to go there. I don't want to be here anymore. Houston offered him a bigger contract, and he came back and said, this is what they're offering me. Are you going to match it? And they said, no. And he left.
And that's, he wasn't like winning, BCS games. We won a BCS game. Let's just say that, because I don't, but like, he was still winning.
Yes.
He was doing.
He never had a stretch as bad as this stretch from Neal Brown.
No. Well, no, not years long. No,
not consecutive years like
no.
that. Like you had
But
bad years, but not like this.
that's just another thing that like, what's our end game with our athletic department, our university? Like, we fire Bill Stewart and he's winning 9 games a season. We don't pay Dana to keep him. He's winning 9 games a season. Like, do we even want to win a national championship?
Well,
do we want to?
Okay. You're unpacking a lot here with Bill Stewart. So listen, Bill Stewart. I think this is even a saying. Bill Stewart inherited a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the teams were trending in the wrong direction. In his last year, we lost to East Carolina. It was like you were watching the team and you could just see that it was going in the wrong direction.
Right.
Okay. And then they brought in Dana as a coordinator, head coach in waiting, and that clearly didn't work out.
And who in their right mind thought that was going to work out? Who sat down and said, you know what?
Well,
I bet you they'd be open to having this head coach in waiting. That's a good idea. Let's do that for our program. I'm sure the morale was just great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't agree with that. If you're going to do it, just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. But sorry to interrupt your point.
No. I think that's a fair point. But this was all over luck making these plays, which I think is one of the better 80s that we've had. And I think that what he was doing there was, Bill Stewart, you're an awesome guy. We love you. You've been great for the university. We don't want to fire you. But we also see this is going in the wrong direction. We want to bring in a hot offensive coordinator that has a huge upside, which Dana did. And we want to do this in a way where you can have another year. You can go. I mean, think about it. If that had worked out, Bill Stewart goes out as a 2-time BCS champion as a coach, Orange Bowl and Fiesta Bowl champion. Right. And then Dana takes over the next year and Bill Stewart rides off in the sunset.
Right.
Like, if that had worked out that way, that's how that would have gone. But like you said, egos, man, egos.
Yeah.
Egos are egos.
It goes back to, Bill Stewart was, I don't know how old he was that final season, but they were just assuming that he was like ready to hang it up. You know what I mean? Like that he was going to be okay with it's been a fun 3 or 4 years. I'm glad you guys gave me the opportunity to be the head coach and all this, and let's move forward with this. But it's as nice as a guy that he was. He's just one of those guys that just loved football. He's not going to ride off into the sunset. He's probably going to be doing that until he, like most of these successful coaches or just coaches in general, like they stay on that sideline until they can't stand there anymore physically. Like, I don't know. But
Joe Paul went into the booth.
That's funny because I was thinking that about Joe Paul while I was saying that.
He couldn't stay on the sideline physically, so he went to the booth and kept coaching. Good God. Yeah. The ego on these guys. But I think that's what makes them great as well. That ego, that mean streak, that I'm going to win at all costs. That is what I think makes these guys great, and what you love, and maybe what we don't see enough of from Neal Brown, that has us a bit concerned.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see that. I saw more fire and passion out of Bill Stewart, like in one game, than I've seen, out of Neal Brown. What feels like he got upset last night they had him on, they had the cameras on him. He was mad about that series where we ran the ball 4 times up the middle from the goal line, about them not checking the spot. Like, that's what you're mad about? Like, I don't know.
I can't believe that. Like, going back to that series, I can't believe that with a mobile quarterback, there's not one rollout play
not
called.
One rollout. Are you serious?
Out of the 4 there, where you've got a run pass option for the quarterback rolling out, and like I cannot believe that wasn't one of those 4 play calls.
You know what? That play call where you, like you said, not one rollout, where you roll out like you're going to pitch. You can, it's an RPO. You can pitch, keep it, or that shovel pass. to the inside. I would have rather seen something like that 3 or 4 times in a row, because at least you've got, you got 3 options.
Yeah. And again, I go back to that is I think that at that point, still in the game, Neal Brown thought our offensive line is our strength, and we're going to come in here and our offensive line is going to win, and they didn't win.
No,
they didn't win any of those situations.
Nope.
So I don't know, man. I guess in summary here, some closing thoughts. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I hate to be the flip flopper, man. I fully admit and recognize that throughout this entire season, and really Neal Brown's whole tenure, I have flip flopped. The reason why is because I want him to succeed. Right. I really do. I like the guy. I look his press conferences, man. For the most part, says the right things. And I really feel like he's a great fit for us. But good God, the dude, it just can't get us over that hump.
I know.
And it's not Mount Everest here that I'm talking about. I'm talking relevancy.
Right.
Relevancy every 2 to 3 years is all I'm asking for.
How long has it been since we've been in the top 25?
I don't think we haven't been ranked a single week since he's been here. So, and we're not going to be ranked this season.
No.
I don't think there's any chance that we're ranked this season.
No, we win last night. We were in.
We would have been ranked today probably if we were at.
Yeah, exactly.
But at this point, I don't care what happens the next 2-3 games. I don't think we get ranked. And yeah, I mean that year 5, he hasn't gotten us in the top 25 a single time. What case can you make to keep Neal Brown that is stronger than that?
I don't know.
You can say 8-4. One team on that in those 8 wins that has a winning record, I believe, is what we're looking at. 1, maybe 2. Maybe BYU and Texas Tech have winning records at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think, we were talking about replacing the teams on our schedule. In the old Big 12, we would have played Texas. Who were the 2 that we mentioned? We would have played Texas, Kansas State,
Iowa State,
and Kansas.
Yeah.
Those are all 4 losses, in my opinion. Based upon maybe we beat Iowa State. Maybe.
Yeah, but we always seem to struggle with Iowa State, even when we were at our best in the early years of the Big 12.
Yeah,
we always seem to struggle with them, and it's weird, but it seemed like we typically played competitive. I mean, there was a few years, but we typically played competitive against Texas. We seem to have Kansas State's number. Oklahoma State was a toss-up, but Texas Tech and Iowa State seem to have our number every season.
Yeah. Okay. Best case scenario with that schedule, I think best case scenario, we're looking at 5 wins.
Yeah.
And so you're right back. Are you telling me Neal Brown keeps his job? No.
Right.
No. So if you're wanting to use 8-4 and say you got to keep him, he went 8-4. There's clearly a line there where 8-4 doesn't mean much with this schedule compared to this schedule. So if you really dissect that, is that what you want to hang your hat on? I don't think you can.
I don't either. I think you have to have at least one upset win, and he didn't get it done this year. He had opportunities. I felt like we were trending the right way going into that game last night, but then it was like you said, it's just the up and down. It's tough. I don't want to talk him up and be blah 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 in 1 week when we're doing well, and then after a game last night, your mindset changes and you're like, fire Neal Brown. But I'm just, like we talked earlier on in this segment, I'm tired of having to emotionally go through that.
For sure. Do
I want him here or do I not want him here? And even whenever we're playing well, I'm still questioning, is he the right guy?
Yeah. And you can't make that case to Rim Baker. Rim Baker, that's not going to factor into Rim Baker's decision. But whenever I look at it, and what really opened my eyes to that is whenever I was thinking about Jimbo Fisher, I was excited. And then I realized it's not because I'm excited about Jimbo Fisher. I was excited that Neal Brown was not going to be our coach anymore, and we just weren't going to be talking about that.
Right.
That's what I was excited about. And I think that is that is like the thing I can say to myself that like, okay, how can you justify getting rid of Neal Brown and an 8-4 year? It's because I'm just fatigued from this.
Right.
I'm fatigued from this era, and I'm ready to move on. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about something else. Like,
so we decided to start a podcast where we talked about it.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. It is. It's it gives you a lot to talk about, but at the same time, you're just regurgitating the same old all the time. But here's something a little off topic. What Jim Harbaugh watched their game yesterday from the team hotel room. How do you think he watched that game? Do you think he was kicked back on his hotel bed with like a bag of chips like we would watch a football game? Or how does a suspended head coach that has a top 5 team that can't coach them watch a football game?
From the hotel, I bet he was in a van out in the parking lot with a scanner that picked up all the frequencies from the headsets, and he was plugged right in.
You're probably not wrong.
I mean, I'm sure he had open lines of communication to the coaching staff the whole time.
Gosh,
surely, right?
I mean, is it like a operations center? Like, is he like got this thing set up like a press booth? You know, like
with the other team's plays in front of him. He's taking over for Connor.
Or is he like in his hotel robe, laying there, just like with Sour Patch Kids and Doritos and
like,
6-pack of.
I mean, maybe because he's like, if we win, he's like, that might be like the least stress he's ever seen, because he's like, if we win, I build a great team. If we lose, because I wasn't there,
right?
You know, this is no stress for me. But I saw an awesome sign on College Game Day. The sign was, Jim Harbaugh stole my other sign.
That's a good one.
That's good.
So another thing that was outside of our game, it was a USC game last night. The USC. No, wait a minute.
If you're thinking Pac-12, Washington and Utah had a good game.
That's what it was. Washington and Utah game. What was it was a pick six that the guy dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line. And
not on like the 1 yard line.
It was like the 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the ball stopped with plenty of distance between the goal line. Like, what, as a head coach, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Because I'm not a fan of either one of those teams, and he did that. I was like, it made me sick to my stomach to see that. I was like, oh my God, he dropped it.
That's why I feel like Washington is having whatever TCU's luck was last year has been given to Washington this year, because wasn't the next play a safety?
Yes.
So actually, it could have been a net positive,
right?
Instead of 7 points, they got 9 points out of it.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, it was a net positive. Like they got the ball back and scored again, and like
it took time. Like, how
and that
lucky
guy
is
that's
that?
sitting over there, that defender on the sideline, is probably like thank God. Because I mean, that could have been that could have ruined their season.
What if like nobody's paying attention and the other team picks it up and runs it back for a touchdown? Like, that could have happened.
If that's not an offensive lineman that jumped on that ball, like, everybody from Washington was celebrating. You're right. I mean, they could have easily scooped that thing up and ran it the other way.
And that is like, people talk about 14-point swings because like, oh, we fumbled on the 5 yard line. We were getting ready to score. Like, okay, anything can happen. That is a true 14-point swing. Like, literally, that was 7 points off the board and put on the other team's score.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, gosh. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you about how the Jim Harbaugh thing, like how he watches a football game when he's suspended. Because how many times, is it twice this season he's been suspended?
Yeah, I think the first 2 or 3 games he was suspended as well.
So this guy's he's making out on his contract whenever he only has to coach half the games.
Him and Jose Perez have the same agent.
Yeah, exactly. And Arch Manning. Speaking of Arch Manning, where do you think he's going to end up?
Wait, is he leaving?
I'd say he will.
Why?
Because he's not playing. I've heard Ohio State.
Though.
I know, but he's Arch Manning. I've heard Ohio State and Ole Miss, of course, but
wait, how? What is there like clear indications that he's not going to get the job there?
I think that Ewers is a junior, isn't he?
Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if he's like, I'm not going to start next year, I could see that. Yeah, I don't know.
Because Ohio State is hurting for a quarterback right now, and I'm sure they'd love to scoop that up.
But like that's like this is so crazy. It makes me like not even want to talk or pay attention to college football. So we're living in a world right now in college football where Jimbo Fisher is going to get paid $75 million to not work. Okay, and then also there's a chance that Arch Manning gets a raise
right
without ever touching the field in his freshman year.
Yeah.
What the fuck world are we living in college football?
I don't know.
Like Ohio State might come in and be like, here's a bag, and we're going to pay you more. How much are you getting down in Texas? Okay, here's more to come here.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, Ohio State obviously has money, but I don't know that they have Texas money, though.
They've got money.
They got money.
But I would say it's like similar worlds, you know. What's the difference between 150 billion to 149 billion? That's what I would say there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, though. Texas money must be real, though, because somehow they're paying that buyout.
Yeah.
And then they're going to pay a new coach. Like,
yeah,
that's what's crazy about it. So over the next 8 years, they're going to pay Jimbo Fisher $7 million a year plus whatever coach they hire.
Yeah. And
then imagine being that coach and be like, wait a second, you're going to pay me $5 million? You mean you're going to pay Jimbo more than you're going to pay me over the next 5 years?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at close to probably $15 million a year. They're paying two separate, two coaches, former coach.
Yeah, I tell you, you brought up the Rich Rod to Alabama thing earlier. I always like the theory craft on this. Is there any chance in the world that if Rich Rod had gone to Alabama, that Nick Saban comes to West Virginia? Because that's who they hired. I mean, that was...
Well, he's also coming from LSU, won a national championship at LSU.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. Because he was employed in the NFL, right? It wasn't like he was off a year or anything like that. He was currently coaching the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And left them mid-season.
Yes.
Yeah. Does he do that for West Virginia? Does West Virginia even make that call because they're like, I'm scared?
Yeah.
You know, I know
he's going to say no, but is he going to be mean about it?
Right. Because he looks like a kind of a scary dude.
Yeah, you didn't have to hurt my feelings. You could have just said no.
But, I mean, he's not going to Alabama, so where would he have ended up? I mean, anywhere, really. And he had any job he wanted, but Nick Saban's a West Virginia guy. It's not crazy to think that he would have maybe wanted to come to West Virginia. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Because it's not like we were definitely relevant at that time. So,
yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
what would that look like?
Rings, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. Statues and rings and 85 analysts.
We might be going to the SEC next, or we might be in the SEC actually. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Would we have gone to the Big 12, or would the SEC be like, hey, let's bring in West Virginia?
Yeah.
Instead of maybe Missouri or what else did they bring in at that time?
A&M.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about. I don't think there's any world in which Nick Saban coaches at West Virginia, but you're right. We were a top 10 program at that time.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but I mean, we're like we talked, I think last time, it's like the same exact situation we were in the Big East. We had relevant, powerhouse schools with Virginia Tech, Miami, and and they leave, and then we fill those gaps, but nowhere near the caliber programs, and we're right back in the same boat.
Right, but we had a coach at that time who came in and led us to the top of that garbage pile.
Right.
I mean, you could say we were in an awful conference, but we were the beast of the East.
Right.
We were beating everybody.
Yeah, at least
except
we
for
weren't
South Florida.
Yeah, at least we weren't the shittiest team in the shitty conference.
Right.
Where, it still says something to be the best team in the shitty conference, but we've got to be that now. We have to, now's the time. Yeah.
And we need a coach that can lead us there.
Yeah. And Rich Rodriguez is that
Nick
man.
Saban. Nick Saban. We talked about ego and motivation a lot. Is there anything in Nick Saban's ego that would be like, I want to prove that I'm the best of all time? What better way?
Yeah,
than to go to West Virginia?
Yeah, it's like take the ugly girl and take her glasses off and give her some. Yeah.
I want to prove that I'm the best there. Kirby Smart can have the SEC. I'm heading to West Virginia. I'm going to build them into a dynasty. We're going to meet in the college football playoff. But I'm going to take them to the promised land.
Yes. But why? It actually is not crazy because you don't have the hurdles to jump.
Except for the fact that the cupboard is absolutely bare.
Other than but that's where you as a head coach have to do your job. But after you feel like you've got your pieces, it's okay, we're just going to run over this conference and go to the playoffs.
That's actually true with the transfers and stuff. Now, Nick Saban could do the Dion and just have a completely different roster next year.
We can't get one player's waiver cleared, but Deion Sanders took an entire football team and made them eligible in one year.
That's one of my favorite quotes, and I'm paraphrasing here. But imagine having the balls to stand in front of the team that you just inherited, just became the head coach of, and say to them something along the lines of, "Hey, there's going to be a lot of you that are going to need to get out of here because I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Louis Vuitton."
Yeah, I know. I bet you if you're sitting in that room as one of those players, you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Is he for real?
Am I going to lose my scholarship?
Yeah,
I guarantee there's nobody laughing harder at them losing 6 in a row than those players that are like, how's that Louis Vuitton looking?
Right. But, it was exciting at the beginning of the year when he came out 3-0. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool that he's doing this. I like Dion. I like his, he's got that charisma. He's got that confidence. But, yeah, you're right. Those players are probably a little smiley faced.
I've seen reports saying that he's a candidate for Texas. That's how crazy the college. That's how crazy the college football landscape is right now.
That right there will just show you that they're only looking at it from a financial aspect, because look at the money that he brought into Colorado in such a short amount of time. They didn't have the money to pay his contract, and after the second home game, the revenue generated from the buzz, they had, it was there.
I think that's the opposite of what Texas A&M is looking at. Clearly, finances are not a concern to them. They want win. They want SEC titles. That's what they want, and money is not an object. So I think that report was just spitballing.
Bogus.
I don't think Deion Sanders is a candidate at Texas A&M. I think they would be crazy to think that he's going to take. Yeah, no, that's not happening. But I really do. I would say the top 2 candidates are Duke head coach or Urban Meyer. That's my opinion.
Urban Meyer.
I don't think they make this call without. You think about who are the coaches? Urban Meyer is somebody they could have been talking with for the last 2 weeks,
right?
Because he's not employed right now.
He's a shady son of a bitch anyway.
Right. So they could have been talking with him. In my opinion, you don't make this move without having a head coach lined up, and that's what I think. It's either him or the Duke head coach.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they probably the talks of firing him started a couple of weeks ago, probably. I mean, it was obviously he was on the hot seat at the beginning of the season, but they were like seriously talking about firing him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like it really picked up steam. So that couple of weeks, a lot could change behind the scenes and people, making phone calls. So yeah, you're probably not wrong there that I'm sure that, Urban Meyer's probably not far-fetched for being contacted at all. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want? If you're Texas A&M, why would you not want to throw all of your, you
make a deal with the devil?
Yes, he wanted Utah. Like if it weren't for him, for Utah, just not having the prestige as Power 5 schools. It wouldn't surprise me if they would have given them a shot that he could have beaten whoever, Oklahoma or Florida State or Ohio State, whoever played for the national championship those years. It wouldn't have surprised me at all. And then, everywhere he goes, he wins. And it's like, and he does it fast.
Yep.
So, like you said, that's what they're looking for. And that'd probably be their best bet.
I would say so. That's who I would recommend for them, even though he's, again, pretty disgusting human being based upon all the scandals and everything around.
Yeah.
But that's what works in college. So,
I mean, as far as our head coaching situation goes, I don't know. I think at this point, it's just anything's open. I'm open to anything except extensions.
I'm going to root for him. I'm going to root for the kids. I'm going to root for us to play well the next two games. I'm going to root for Garrett Green to shake off the bad game and really, have some good games. I'm going to root for us to go 8-4 and go to a bowl game and play well there. But man, I really don't want to talk about this again next year, man.
I don't either.
And that's not necessarily Neal Brown's fault. I guess it is. But like, I just don't want, I can't imagine the thought of watching the same type of team go out there again next year. I can't imagine the same like mediocrity. I can't imagine the same play calling and the way our offense looks and the way our secondary looks. I just can't imagine watching that again.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm rooting for our team and I want him to win, but then just do it already. Just do it already. If you're some of these kids, these coaches will move on. They'll be able to coach for 20, 30 years if, they have any kind of success rate. Some of these kids are like 4 years, 3 years of playing football. That's all they're there for. It's just to play football.
Zach Frazier.
Yeah.
Well, probably. I mean, Zach Frazier is one of the best mountaineers of all time.
Yeah.
And he spent his entire career in the Neal Brown era.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yep, it is. And you feel bad for him. But I don't know. I want him to win. I'm a West Virginia fan. We're West Virginia fans. We want to be successful. And it really, really breaks my heart to feel like that I thought at the beginning of the season, like, let's just tank this thing, get rid of him, start over. Like, I don't want to lose. Even if I do want a new head coach, I still don't want to lose. But I don't know. It's so up and down. I'm tired of like the inconsistency, and I don't know. We'll just see how.
I'm ready to turn a new page. That's just that's probably the best way to say it.
Yeah,
it's a new Big 12 next year. Let's go into it with a new coach, excitement. Let's get out there. Let's win some games. Let's fill the stands back up again. Let's make a night game in Morgantown mean something. Let's get back into the top 25.
Right.
Or at least have the mindset like, if a new coach is here next year and we suck, we can be like, okay, it's his first year. All right. This is all cherry. And then but like the whole Neal Brown conversation, man, I can't do it for another year. I just can't.
Yeah.
So
we may have to take the time to review every single one of Rich's games to fill time instead of talking about it.
All right. So maybe sometime this week we'll get together with Ryan and we'll do an episode of If Not Neal Brown, Then Who?
Okay.
We'll talk about our top candidates. Make the case for them.
Give some time to do a little research this week. And
because I don't really care about talking about the next games. I think we both kind of said that whatever happens in the next games doesn't really matter that much. We hope we win, but it's not like I'm not going to break them down and really care that much about them. So that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, we went from playing meaningful football in November last week to back to who gives a shit.
Yeah. Yes, we did. But the only, yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, we'll talk to Ryan about that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also watch the audio only version on Spotify. Keep that in mind. Just look up Near and Far podcast on Spotify. That's the easiest way to find it. And we got our first comment on the channel the other day. It was they should fire Neal Brown. So, this conversation is not coming from anywhere, but if you want to leave us comments, we'll read them for sure. And we might talk about them in the next episode. So keep that in mind as well. And we'll see you on the next one.